Hi everyone and welcome back. My name is Shion Bello. Uh, I'd just like to say thank you to everyone that has been liking the videos, sharing the videos, and posting the videos. So I really appreciate you. I mean, it's motivation that keeps me going. All right, thank you so much. I would also like to appeal to people to subscribe to the channel, uh, to share the videos on your class group chat, your tutorial group chat, and to those that you feel the video might be helpful to. All right, let's get into it. So I have 5 slides for SBR. This is strategic business reporting. Previously was corporate reporting. So I have 5 slides for it, and the reason is because slowly exams are getting closer, and I want to show some things that has to be past question that you can have more perspective to some things, and while preparing you can put some things at the back of your mind. All right, so for SBR, SBR in the previous syllabus was called corporate reporting. So for corporate reporting, the major difference from other courses is the fact that almost everything you need to learn it. Almost everything you need to learn it. You need to learn your standards. And at the end of the day, because okay, if you're doing like 5 courses, for instance, you might need to you might not be able to learn or revise every single standard, right? But try to cover, I mean, 80 to 100% of the standards you get. There are some standards that you can now decide to pick one or the other. Yeah, but there are some standards that are non-negotiable. All your non-current assets, non-current liability standards are non-negotiable. So you can now decide to pick some, maybe you can decide IS 12, between IS 12, IFRS 16, that's leases, between income taxes, leases, and maybe share-based payments. You can pick two out of those three. You get just to, if there's no more time, you understand me here. But there's time, please try and learn as many standards as you can. So that's the major difference from other courses. Uh, Financial statements. Usually, most tutorials take this last, and their reason is because they want to cover most of the standards, right? But I would advise you, even if your tutorial has not started it, if there's a way you can start it before they start it, it's very important. Or if you can make sure you're up to date with your tutorial, so at the moment they start it, because okay, for example, now for May diet, most tutorials started preparing from group FS from like ending of April or beginning of May. That's too close. I mean, group FS, you have SOPL, SOFP, foreign subsidiaries, business combination achieved in stages. You have the complex group, that's the D shape. You have investment in associates. So it's important that you start this group FS as early as possible. If you are doing an online tutorial where there is access to last year's videos, you can start watching it during your spare time. So that by the time you now start it properly for your own diet. Yeah, so it's very important for you to start preparing as early as possible for this group FS. It's one of the, we usually tutorials leave it to the end, but it's one of the key aspects. So what will you learn for group FS? You start with associate or JV. Yeah, that's associate or JV. You start with associate or JV, investment in associate or JV, joint ventures. Then, so there's a equity method. Yeah, there's equity method. There's equity method. So then you now go to complex group. You go to subsidiaries. So a tip, you can just solve and know one past question on each of these. Once you've learned the format, just keep revising one past question on each of these because there are plenty you get. Then you can also learn SOPL and SOFP. Usually what comes out the most is SOFP. But if you are like in a diet I was that the way to go and bring out statement of cash flow, well, let's move on from that. Now, then the second thing you need to learn according to the syllabus, because I'm working based on the syllabus, is reporting of entities' financial performance to stakeholders. So that's basically your standards. IFRS 5, IES 8. I think I meant to see IFRS 15. That's revenue. Alright, so that should be IFRS 15. Revenue from contract with customers. That should be IFRS 15, not IFRS 5. So please, let's just take note. Then you have IS 8. That's a accounting policy errors estimate. You have IS 16. That's your PPE. IS 38. Your intangible assets. 23. That should be. I think that's borrowing costs. You can correct me if I'm wrong. IAS 19, employee benefits. IFRS 9 and 7, that should be the one on financial assets, right? The one on financial assets and the disclosure. IAS 12, that should be income tax. So you can just check this out, right? You can check it out. Then interpret FS, sustainability disclosures, non-financial data and information, other related disclosures and reports. So this one basically what they mean when they put it in the syllabus is your ratios. All those your ratios, your ratio analysis, interpretation of FS. You understand? And if you attended the class I did on the story I did on case study, when you have an FS financial statement analysis, it's not just okay, profit increase. Tell us why profit increase. So when you do all those ratio analysis, you do it, you can write a little note about why something increased based on your question. You understand? Based on your question. So then also they're talking about sustainability disclosures. If you check chapter 5 in current corporate reporting textbook, there is something about limitations in financial reporting. That thing comes out almost every time. It comes out to see one of the tips, major tips, we'll still see it because I have to go there. I'll go to that other slide. One of the major tips for um, SBR and SFM is you might not know the calculation. So back it up with essay question, writing question, back it up with it. Get ready, so go through all the past questions where they ask writing questions, not the ones that usually come out. Because it's those writing questions that might save you. The calculation, if you don't know it, you don't know it. But the writing question, if you have an idea, oh, I remember I read this, okay, let me just start writing, let me just start. You understand? Because that calculation question, you might not be sure. You might not be sure, honestly, you might not be sure. Except you are doing one course and you're someone that has already packed back to back and done all the past questions. So please, all the sustainability and integrated reporting, the pack has some chapters. I think chapter 5 in ICAN, in that corporate reporting text. And also, uh, you would now learn, oh, there's something they call integrated report because they said basically, okay, let me just say it since I've started saying it. A financial statement has some limitation. For example, it does not consider is based on numbers, it's based on accounting standard. So even assets you don't have, you recognize. There might be an asset that you don't is something that you might not recognize on a normal day, right? But if it meets the standard, you recognize. There's some liabilities that you might not recognize on a normal day, but because it's accounting standard recognize. So they are saying that there's some limitations of financial reporting. You recognize things and you measure things based on some accounting terms. Those are some limitations of financial reporting. You understand? Once the assets meet 3 criteria, there's flow of economic resource, there is this, there is that, you recognize it. You want to be recognizing it, you get. But sometimes it may not be practical. You understand? So those are what they are now saying, okay, there's some limitations. Then there's an integrated report. Integrated report is just basically saying all this is in ICAN text, but I just want to demystify it so that you know there's nothing there. Integrated report is just basically saying what about corporate social responsibility? What about social environment? What about sustainability? You guys are just talking about financial statement, numbers, numbers, numbers. And in today's world, you have to have an integrated report. Banks already have integrated reports. You understand? So that's just basically it. Ethics, there will always be something ethical they will just bring out somewhere in your SBR. You understand? There will always be something ethical that they will bring out. Oh, based on this, advise the management. This is how he was doing it. This. So there will always be something ethical. Okay, let's go to the next slide. All right, how to answer an essay question for SBR. So after reading, practicing, cramming, studying, whichever one it is you do, right? Sometimes people write down and they feel okay, even if I don't get other questions, I should have gotten this question. And they see their score and they're like, what's happening? Or sometimes people get 45 and it's so tight. Do you get? So sometimes the difference between your 45 and your 50 is how you answer those essay questions. Calculations generally, you get almost all the marks in calculations if you do it step by step and you're not jumping step. But for essay questions, you can answer a question. Two people, A and B, can answer a question. And out of an 8 marks questions, both of them know the answer. But A will get 4 and B will get 8 marks. And A will end up getting 46, B will end up getting 50 and just pass. How you answer an essay question matters. It's this level is called ICAN professional. They want you to demonstrate professional skills. You can read it anyhow, pack it in your head anyhow, but when it's time to answer it professionally. And there's an easy way. There's a very easy way. Very easy way. There's nothing you have to cram. Very easy way. So let's go to slide 3. All right. This is a question for May 2025. They said, discuss the conditions that need to be satisfied before revenue can be recognized. You should support your answer with reference to international and with IFRS standard as appropriate. In fact, if they did not even tell you IFRS, in fact, you should support your answer. They don't need to put it there. Discuss the conditions that need to be satisfied for revenue. This is what a student can see. A student can see for revenue to be satisfied, number one, identify the contract with the customer, identify separate performance obligation, determine transaction price, allocate the transaction price to performance obligation, recognize revenue when or as the entity satisfies the performance obligation. That's what a student can see. And it's not wrong. But out of 8 marks, that student can get 2 marks. And that student can say that is the trick. You start from the question. Your answer should start from the question. And that's when I say the conditions, see the question. The conditions that need to be satisfied before revenue can be recognized. Can you see? They went back to the question to start their answer from the question. That's the trick I can expect you to have. You understand? The icon went back when they were solving their answer. They went back to the question to take a part of the question to start their answer. So you will now say the conditions that must be satisfied before revenue can be recognized, but you have to be fast. You understand? You have to be factor of time. In accordance with, you now state the standard. Even if they do not tell you to state the standard, you state the standard. If they say, okay, for investment property, there are 2 methods. Tell us the methods. You won't just say, oh, cost model or revaluation model. No. Cost model or fair value model, sorry. Cost model or fair value model, right? No, you won't just say cost model or fair value model. You say per the methods for valuation of the property or the methods for recognizing a property, right? Per IAS 40 investment properties. You understand? So that you can demonstrate that you know the standard. But in the exam, if you forget the standard, no wahala. Just say the methods, the method for what do you call it, for recognizing this thing per the IFRS standards is, you understand? If you forget it, you forget it. There's nothing you can do about it. But try to remember it. Do you understand? All right. So you can see how they answer that question. Then they want to say identify the contract with the customer. Even if you don't remember anything about identifying the contract with the customer, you can still write something. You can say the contract is between 2 parties, the supplier and the customer. There must be a contract. Everybody must know their rights. Everybody must know their obligation. That's it. And IFRS 15, we come from the perspective of the what do you call it, the supplier, the company. You understand? Because we assume we it's based on recognition of revenue, and it's the company that recognize revenue, not the customer. Uh-huh. All right, so that's how to answer a question. I took my time with this because when it comes to SBR or corporate reporting, it's not just about knowing it. Answering the question seriously matters. All right, so let's okay. So sorry, let's see. I need to get back to the previous slide. All right, so then also they repeat a lot of past questions when it comes to SBR. They repeat a lot of past questions. So corporate reporting. So it's important for you to solve as many past questions as you can. It's so important. This past question, I just brought out one. There were several ones, but because of time, I just brought out one just to show you that they repeat past questions. May 2024, this question was question 6. I actually solved it, but because I was writing 5 papers, I forgot how I was supposed to approach it. I just approach it based on how I felt on that exam day, which was painful because I actually solved. I saw 2 questions I had solved before I entered that corporate reporting exam, but I just could not remember exactly how it was solved. So I just had to, you know how we do it. You shall flex it and God will take control. So May 2024, they brought out this question. In May 2025, they brought it out again. So please, when you solve your standards, go to past questions. Solve as many past questions as you can solve. And try and remember how you apply the standard while solving the question. Sometimes this thing can be a bit subjective. Sometimes it can be a bit of the way you interpret the question. Sometimes you might think, oh, they meant 5 years, meanwhile they meant 6 years. You understand? So that's why it's important to practice the past question and see the perspective they are always coming from. You understand? So, um, so let's look at the question. On August, this sold one of his branches to this. Net asset was this, blah 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 blah. So if you come here, that transaction 1, they now made it transaction 2. Oh, sorry, the transaction 2, they made it transaction 1. So on September, this sold one of his branches to this. The same question. So please practice past questions. I cannot overemphasize it. Practice past questions. It's so important, please. It's so important. Practice past questions. Yeah. So thank you.